So today, as you can tell by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about lawn rust. Believe it or not, it is one of the most common lawn diseases that we come to find this time of year in the Midwest with cool season lawns. When it's very hot, it's very dry, we're not getting a lot of rain, it presents itself, and boy, is it ugly. Today, I'm going to show you guys lawn rust, what it is, why you have it, and how to get rid of it. That, my friends, is today's video. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up? Good morning, everybody. I'm Jake the Lawn Kid. Welcome back to yet another video. Hope all of you are having a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. As a matter of fact, at the time I'm shooting this video, I'm actually having a little black coffee right there. Check out that mug, class 2020. That's right, I'm a 2020 graduate. Check that out. Thanks for the mug, by the way, Mom. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Look at that. 2020 toilet paper. Yeah, get the joke. Anyway, today I want to talk to you guys about lawn rust. So lawn rust, believe it or not, lawn rust is a very common problem that we deal with here in the Midwest once we get into the mid to late August time frame. And this disease, it's a disease of the leaf, right? It presents itself as orange transferable, I'll talk about that in a second, transferable spores on the leaf blades. The reason I say this disease is transferable is because it can actually be spread by footprint. And when I say footprint, I'm actually referring to a couple of things. I'm referring to not only your physical footprint, but I'm also referring to the tires of your lawnmower, or really anything that involves touching the infected leaf blades and then transferring it over to a non-infected area and creating a bigger outbreak than you think. As a matter of fact, that's how this disease spreads, right? If you mow the infected area, spores are going to break off of the leaves and they're actually going to get all over your lawn equipment, all over your boots, what have you. And if you take that into a non-infected area of the lawn, that's going to then in turn make that area infected and create a bigger outbreak than you wanted. So that's something to think about with this disease, is that it spreads by footprint. Now, with that being said, where does it come from? Like I said earlier, it comes from stressful conditions in the summertime. It's very easy for it to manifest itself in conditions where it's hot, it's dry, it's sunny, we haven't had rain, we're not watering. It's very easy for it to manifest itself on turf like that, as it's also nutrient deficient, because one of the things we're not doing in the summertime when we let our lawns go into dormancy is we're definitely not fertilizing, right? Because one of the things we don't want to do to a lawn that's already stressed is stress it out some more. So if you're not fertilizing it, if you're not giving it nutrition, it's going to be weak, it's going to be depleted, it's going to be vulnerable, and it's going to be easier for that lawn in turn to develop an outbreak of lawn rust. So that, my friends, is where lawn rust comes from. Now, as far as how to get rid of it, there are a couple of things I recommend you do. The first thing I want to talk about before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to eradicate it, though, is I want to talk about how you can stop the spread of this particular disease. Now, my friends, it all starts with what I said earlier. It spreads by footprint. So anything you can do to reduce traffic on the lawn in those diseased areas and taking it to non-diseased areas would be ideal. For instance, if you're walking on diseased areas, one thing I would recommend is stay off non-infected areas. And once you get off the diseased area, make sure that you wash your lawn equipment, wash your shoes, whatever. Just make sure you're washing your equipment frequently when you get on and off those areas, so that you do not take those spores and spread it into those non-infected areas. Again, that's the goal, because that's how this disease spreads. It spreads through transferable spores. So make sure that when you get off the infected area, that you wash your equipment as soon as possible. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about how we can actually eradicate this disease. So there are 3 things I recommend you do to improve the overall quality of your lawn, and one of them will also just eradicate the disease really, really fast. The first thing I recommend you do is make sure you're watering if you're not already, right? Because one of the downsides to letting your lawn go into dormancy is it is in a weak and vulnerable state, which means it is more likely to get lawn rust, because again, you're not feeding it, you're not watering it, you're not mowing it, you're not doing anything, right? So it's very vulnerable at this point. So one thing you could do to stop that vulnerability, especially if you're looking to overseed in the next week or so, is start watering 4 days a week, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, watering long enough on each of those days to make sure you're getting down a ½ inch each time. If you do that, I promise you, you're going to be okay, and your lawn's already one step closer to being better. Now, with that being said, there are 2 more things that I recommend you do to just amplify the recovery recovery. The first thing is I recommend you get down a fungicide if you haven't already. Now, fungicides can be used both as preventatives and curatives. In this case, we're not able to prevent it because the time you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure most of you are seeing the problem, but if you wanted to prevent it, all you'd pretty much be doing is a blanket application. But in this case, we can be a little more conservative with it, right? Because if we're seeing the problem, all we need to do is spray the areas, the foliage of the areas, if you will, that are displaying the lawn rust. One product I like for this in particular is going to be Propiconazole 14.3%. Basically what this is a liquid concentrate. Now, the one I'm recommending to you is actually a pro blended product, but it's scaled down for the DIYer in a 32-ounce bottle. And you can purchase it via the links that I'll leave down in the description below for that, as well as a couple other products you hear me mention here. But I recommend using this product over a store-bought one for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's more potent, which means that if you do an application, you're going to get more out of it faster because you're getting a higher concentration out of the product. And secondly, you have more left over when you're done because it is more potent, it is more concentrated, the application rates are also less, which means you can get multiple uses out of this and also save your wallet a little bit in the future, as opposed to going to the big box store and getting a 32-ounce bottle of DIY Propiconazole, which is lower in concentration, and you only use it once. You get this one and you can use it multiple times. And on top of that, like I said, the most important part is the faster acting control. The product is more potent, it will act faster, it will be more responsive. One more thing to take into consideration at the time that you're watching this video is the fact that we are heading into September, and chances are most of you guys are going to be doing a little bit of overseeding. So some of you guys might be wondering, Jake, I know you recommend the use of a fungicide, but is it okay to use it while I want to go ahead and seed? And the answer is yes. The mode of action, if you will, of the fungicide will not interfere with the growth pattern of your new seeds. That is nothing to worry about. So if you have an outbreak of lawn rust and you are doing some seeding, go ahead and use your fungicide in combination with your seed. I promise you, all will be fine. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, this is probably by far the second most important thing you could do to your lawn in general besides curing the problem, and that is going to be nutrition. This is where our fertility products come into play. I highly recommend you get down a starter fertilizer. This is probably the second most important thing you could do, not only in this circumstance, but in general for your lawn, right? Just to keep it green and vigorous. Make sure you're feeding it right. Make sure you're giving it adequate nutrition. And this actually brings me to the fertility product that I'd like to recommend to you guys, and that is a product by my good friends over at Green County Fertilizer, 1621-2 Green Pop. This is a starter fertilizer they make. It's part of the Next Seed starter pack that you guys are hearing me talking about over the next couple of weeks. One of the things I like about it is it has the three main macronutrients that I always talk about: the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium, NPK. NPK, you'll be okay, as I always like to say, right? Especially in this case. I want to make sure we're getting those three in there. The nitrogen will help the top growth, the phosphorus will help with overall root development, and the potassium will help with overall plant health during these stressful times. So having a combination of all three is great, and the liquid Green Pop does just that. That's it, guys. That's all I have for you with regards to lawn rust. Now, I have a ton more awesome content coming up for you guys. I actually got a video coming out where I'm actually taking you through my step-by-step overseeding process on my own lawn and landscape, how to overseed an existing lawn, the products I use, and why, as well as the process I follow. I think it'll be a fun video, give you a little inside perspective on that for those of you guys who are overseeding this fall. So stay tuned for that video. But yeah, in the meantime, I got to get on with things, as I'm sure you guys do too. Got to get that lawn rust under control, get that grass green, growing, vigorous, and double dark, as Halloween is literally weeks away. Got to set ourselves apart for then. So yeah, get on it, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. What's up, everybody? Thank you very much for watching all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate you guys' support. At the time you're watching this little clip here, I just got done editing the video, about to hit upload here, get this up hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday morning. And at the time that this video is being posted, I wanted to make you guys aware of something that I did over the weekend. I actually did a podcast with the man, the myth, the legend, Paul Jameson, host of the Green Industry Podcast. For those who are familiar with Paul, you guys will know his his podcast is primarily geared toward those who are looking to start their businesses, those who are looking to start lawn care businesses, those who've been in the industry for quite a while and they're looking for different ways to enhance their lawn care businesses. That is the type of audience that his podcast is geared toward. But one thing I did is I put a little bit of a different twist on it. I actually provided a little bit of content that is maybe fun and helpful for everybody. I shared a little bit about the equipment I recommend, why I recommend it, the lawnmowers I use, a little bit of behind the scenes content behind the sponsorships and partnerships that I have here on Jake the Lawn Kid. So those of you guys who are a little more interested in that, that'll all be in that podcast episode. And on top of that, we also dove a little bit into my philosophy with Instagram. For those of you guys who don't know, I've been doing a lot of different things with Instagram this year to help my page stand out a little bit more. The grid, if you will. You guys who are photographers and all that in the lawn care industry, you may know what I'm talking about. But for those of you guys who don't, I basically talk about a cool way to basically build a portfolio for your lawn if you're journaling your lawn on Instagram, or if you're starting your own lawn care business at like 16 or 18 or maybe even younger than that, and you're looking for ways to document your services and all that. This is basically a cool, creative, unique way that you can build a portfolio, diversify, if you will, and stand out from the competition. So that stuff we talked about on the podcast. Lots of fun I had with my buddy Paul. Again, thank you, Paul, for having me on the podcast. I sincerely appreciate people like you in this industry who believe in 18-year-old kids and those who are younger than that to achieve their goals and build a successful business. So from my heart, I really appreciate you for that. So there you go, guys. That's all for me today. I'm actually going to end this video off with a fun little segment from the podcast, if you will. I did a little recording here in the studio, set up a camera, got some nice lighting for you guys. I'm going to show you guys a quick minute segment from the podcast that I thought was pretty fun, pretty cool, pretty funny. Kind of dates back to the old days of Jake the Lawn Kid and all that. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end the video with that. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the next video. Later.
You are, one of the things you're known for is being Alan Haynes' neighbor back in the day, huh?
Yep. Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
Uh-huh.
Before he was YouTube famous, he was just Alan next door, huh?
Uh-huh. Good times we had.
So tell us the story, man. Who moved in first? Him, you? How'd you meet? This is way old school story. I want to hear it.
All right, so it dates back to 2004, 2005. Before we moved to the subdivision that we live in now, been here for about 15 years, by the way. We used to live in the Heights, and we eventually sold that house. We were looking for homes and moved in here around, I think it was May of 2005. He was here before us. Our home was new construction. It was pre-constructed before we moved in. And yeah, it was, what's the best way to word this? So we moved in 2005. And then, him and my dad started hitting it off. Neighbors go around the neighborhood, they become friends and all. So they've been friends for a while. And then as I got older, I would go outside and I would see Alan talking to cameras. And I would be like, what is going on, right? So as I got older, my curiosity for that grew. So I eventually went up to him and I was like, hey, man, what are you doing? And he was like, I have this YouTube channel where I teach lawn care. I'm like, really? So I looked it up and I'm like, whoa. This is cool. So then fast forward about a year and a half later, him and I